to science, knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
For newcomers and old-timers alike, the Chloe Sanctuary hopes to give you insight into the health and happiness of your companion parrots. We hope to help you build happy homes using reliable and proven tools. The best homes are built on a rock-solid foundation. And the best foundation for a happy home is the bedrock of science. When we stand on the shoulders of giants, the scientists who have worked long and diligently to understand our companions, we can reach new heights of understanding. And understanding is the key to success.
I think treated, most of these birds have a good prognosis, and I would say
What does avian veterinary medicine have to tell us about our feathered friends? How can we prevent illness, see the signs of disease before it's too late, and care for our birds through ill health? What light does behavioral science shed on their nature, needs, and hopes? How can the tools of behavior shaping make our homes happier for us and our companions?
Shake.
How can we deal with biting, screaming, or other misbehavior? What is it like to live among parrots? Let them roam around about you and share a life with them. How much freedom do you give them? What happens if you form a bond of trust with them? Watch and see what understanding their true nature can do for you. Come with us on a journey as we do more than examine a parrot's world. We live in it. Make some popcorn and bring in a few wood blocks. Let everyone have something to chew and a comfortable place to perch. Cockatoo is a presentation of the Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a nonprofit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.
Hi, and welcome to Cockatoo, Cockatoos with Attitude. This is episode 79, The Bridge to Better Behavior. You walk on bridges? Peaches does? Peaches walks on bridges? Oh, okay. Are you sure? Today we have Lucy. Lucy. Cosmo. Hey, Cos, you buried down there again? Yeah. Lorelei. Lorelei. Baby girl. Oh, you know who we forgot? We forgot Pippa. We got to go get Pippa. Yes, we do. We got Coco, Sugar, Sugar Bird, and Salamander. Salamander, you look half asleep. We got to go get Pippa. So we'll be right back. Pip. I knew I forgot somebody. Pippa. Come on, Pip. Come on, Pip. Pippa, come on. Come on, Pip. You know I left something on the couch. We're all going to want to mess with it. Sorry. I'm sorry. You okay? Hey, you leave her alone. And Pippa. Okay. Right, Pip? Gotta be on here, right, Pip? What Pippa is chattering about up there is that she wants everybody to become a patron and give us $1 an episode. That's $1 an episode. We do 2 a month, so $2. Right, Pip? Is that what you want? Pip says, yeah. Hard to translate what Pip says, isn't it? Isn't it, Pippa? Yeah. Yeah. She's had lead poisoning. They had to take lead out of her actual esophagus and left one before she came here. Right, girl? So she says, I like my special treats. Right? So the bridge to better behavior. We all want better behavior from our birds, And what the bird wants is a better outcome. Right? Right? Yeah. And her idea of a great outcome is getting a pine nut. Although her beak was so damaged when she came to us that we couldn't give her pine nuts because she'd swallow the whole thing. The whole nut. Not just the kernel inside. She fought so hard to actually open them but couldn't. Now she eats them. She busts them right apart, don't you, kid? Don't you? Yeah. But the only time she'll actually talk, is when she just wants something. Not just wants something. I mean, it's the only thing on her mind. She's totally focused on it, then she'll do that. Otherwise, she'll just make a little sound. Kind of like Coco. Coco has a little sound she makes too, don't you, Coco? This is the one that used to scream during all of our intros. She's gotten over the problem with cameras all over the room, microphones and all that setup, so it looks kind of like a spaceship, and I think she thinks she's on one. Whether we realize it or not, we're training all the time. We're training the bird, and we're also training ourselves. And the reason I say that is that if you go to get your bird out of your cage and your bird lunges at you and you pull your hand out, okay, the bird has trained you to pull your hand out when it lunges. So you're being trained too. And the bird's being trained by the fact that you're pulling your hand out, that it can control you with a simple lunge. So, also situations where you have a bird, let's say, that screams, so you get trained to cover the bird because you don't want to hear the screaming. There's ways around it. I wouldn't do the covering thing myself, but there's ways where you can break that habit. I know Bob used to scream all the time. By all rights, he should be screaming now because he's in the back room. We can't have him out in the main bird room anymore because he screams when he's around the flock. And he will continue doing it for a long time, and then the other birds chime in, so we don't need them learning how to scream. But he doesn't do it in the back room. He's back there primarily because of he's in a separate room primarily because of his prolapse, and that has put him in a different category. It's made him so that he doesn't want to be around other birds most of the time. Now, we're lucky in that we had this aviary donated to us, and he loves being in the aviary, and he behaves fairly well. He'll pinch me on the rear or through the chair I sit in. It's one of those patio chairs, and it has those slats where you can reach in. There's Bob. It has those slats where he can reach in with his beak and get me, and he'll do it just because he likes to needle me, literally. So we change our behavior because of their behavior, and they change their behavior because of us. And it's a back and forth between you and your bird, or in this case, between me and all these birds in here. Out in the aviary, we have everybody out if we can. Sometimes Roman will come out, sometimes he won't. He's a paranoid bird, so if he gets something gets his fears up, he won't come out of his cage, and you can't force him. You do not want to force Roman to do that, because then he will just run into panic mode. He'll be afraid of everything, and you just don't want to do that. So. But he does come out sometimes, and he has a good time in there. It's just getting him to that aviary and getting him back. That's where he tends to freak out. So. As a little background, we can lay for the bridge to better behavior. First, we have to ask, why does a bird misbehave? Now, misbehaving is, sometimes it's a species-specific behavior. So the first thing you have to rule out is whether it's a physical problem. If they have a physical problem, you may not be aware of it, and that can cause misbehavior. And misbehavior just simply means they're doing something that you don't want them to do. Okay?
I'd like to do a big shout out to those people who make this video cast possible. Cockatoo would not be possible without our patrons. Thank you to those of you who make one-time donations. Without these patrons giving us of their hard-earned cash, we couldn't continue doing this podcast.
It may not be misbehavior to them. You tell them, little Pip, what are you doing? Okay, if you want to sit up there, it's all right. You can go up there if you want, Cause. You can go up there. I thought you were leaping at Lucy's. So always rule that out first. I know one lady who had a bird that started nipping and was becoming a little hard to deal with. So she had 2 homes. She moved it to the second home. It died a week later. It actually was dying anyway. There's nothing that could have been done, but it was extremely sick. And so it was pushing her as part of the flock away. Sick birds will tend to push other birds away from them. Also the flock, if the flock knows a bird in the flock is sick, it will try to push it out. And it kind of makes sense, because if you have a bird that could possibly pass on a sickness to the whole flock, obviously they're not thinking about this, it's just something that's kind of built in, but so you want to rule out that there are any physical problems that could be causing the issue. If you have a bird that has been friendly and all of a sudden it starts to be nippy and pushing you away, it could be behavioral, but make sure you get a full diagnostic from your avian vet. That's critical, because you want to make sure they don't have a problem. Sometimes you'll find a physical problem that can be corrected. You're hanging on my glasses. Cause I don't mind you being up there, but okay, there we go. You were hanging. I have glasses holder because I'm nearly blind. So these are thick glasses. I have to have something to hold them on. And I think she's still on it. Yep, she is. If she gets on that little tail I have, it feels really odd trying to talk while your head's being jerked around. So once you've ruled out that it's not a physical problem, then you start dealing with, is it species specific? By that, I mean most parrots will squawk loudly in the morning. They'll squawk loudly at night before the sun goes down. They'll squawk to find other flock members. So if they're doing a flock call, I better close that door. They're getting a little noisy out there. Cecil's talking to himself. He wants to be in here, but it's mating season. The only male I can actually trust is salamander. The other ones, if I'm not looking right at them and keeping my attention on them, are going to try to pair up, and you can't really allow that to happen. It changes their behavior a lot if they get paired with another bird. So, right, Lucy? Poor Lucy. Her left eye had an infection about 2 months ago, and we gave her medicine for it. She had to put a cream on her eye, or gel on her eye, set for 7 days, and it came back again. So now we're doing 14 days. Aren't we, baby? So it looks better. It got all red though. So, if it's species specific, it's something they normally do. For example, I know somebody who can't stand the sound of a bird grinding its beak. Well, if you've got cockatoos, you're going to have grinding beaks. That's just the way it's going to be. So that's species specific, and it's one of the ways they trim their beaks and keep their beaks in shape. So if you can't take that, then you shouldn't have a cockatoo, because that's a species specific behavior that you're always going to see. So if you have a bird that, like a cockatoo, that whenever you go over to sit down at the computer, they hop on your arm and they keep getting in the way between you and the keyboard, that could well be because they're social creatures. They are simply trying to be the focus of the social behavior at the time. Hello, Peaches. So you're going to have to find some way to use that social behavior. Find something else you can get them involved in that'll tide them over with their need for that social behavior. So there's species-specific behavior. Then there's also learned behavior. And it's both intentional and unintentional. Again, I am preening Peaches. She came over to be preened. She has mated to me. She can't reach her own feathers because of the 6 fused vertebrae in her neck, so you will see me preening her this way. Do not do this with your birds unless you have a bird that can't preen itself, literally cannot preen itself. You shouldn't be putting your hands under their feathers and preening their feathers for them. Unless you want a bird that's territorial, and you don't. Believe me, you don't. I got one. So what will happen with her feathers, as you can see here, she gets a feather, it comes in, and she can't preen it, so it gets just all bonded together, and you can't preen it. It won't come apart. No matter how hard you work on it, it just kind of falls apart. So when it gets like that, I have to pull them out. I don't yank, but she still cries when they finally come out. I try to catch them as early as I can and actually open them up, but if they're left there too long, you can't open them. At least not on her feathers. Right, Peach? Right, Peaches? You gonna say anything about it, Peach? Nope, just preen me. So, learned behavior, you teach them something, and they will learn to do that behavior. Then there's learned behavior that's unintentional. For example, one thing Roman does, which is a learned behavior, and I'm not sure what the cue is for this. I don't know how he knows, but I'm in the kitchen, and I've got the peanut butter out because he'll only take his medicine for his feather destructive behavior. He'll only take it mixed in with peanut butter. I could teach him to do it another way, but once you've found a way that works, it's not necessary to do that. So, but he knows. I do a lot of things in the kitchen, but he knows when the peanut butter's out and I'm making his medicine. He knows, and he'll start going, "I love you, I love you." Yes, Peaches, I know. Preening. Now she makes those little yells, but if I stop doing it, then she'll come over and argue with me about preen me. So it's a learned behavior. He starts calling "I love you" when I'm making his medicine, mixing it in the peanut butter, but I'm not sure how he learned it. They have two modes of learning that are important to know. One is modeling, where they see someone else do something and they duplicate it. That's good for us when we're teaching them to do something. Now, there's a feather that was all messed up. It didn't come in right. Those are the ones that can become impacted. And if she gets an impacted feather, it's back for surgery. So I try to care for them as best I can. Don't want her going into surgery. I always worry about my little girl when she's in surgery, don't I, Peach? Yeah.
is ignorance of Bob's nature that turned Babaloo into a living gargoyle. Bob's would-be parents made a hasty choice and found themselves in living hell, torn between guilt and frustration. I have seen the joy in Babaloo's eyes now that he has a new life with me as his companion. To see Babaloo love and trust again is worth the effort of a lifetime. But, once again, Bob is heading toward the pain of separation. My heart nearly broke the day I discovered that he was heading toward a cloacal prolapse, that his life will be cut short. To find love and acceptance and then have it stolen away from you by failing health is too much to bear. We can slow the progress of his failing health, but we can't stop it. He will need several surgeries, and eventually Babaloo will die. We want to give him the best possible life until that day. His surgeries will become progressively more expensive over time. Won't you please lend Babaloo a hand and donate to his medical fund today? Our donation button is on our webpage at www.chloesanctuary.org. Just be sure to say, "For Bob," in the notes when you donate.
Okay. Now, there's modeling where they're duplicating or watching someone else do something. They see another bird go over and find some food, so they go over and find it. They learn to go over to that spot because there's usually food there. That's called modeling. Then there's vicarious learning, when they watch you put your hand on the stove and go, ow, and pull your hand off, and they don't go near the stove. Okay? They learn not to do something by watching you do something, or watching anyone else do something. So they figure things out in complex ways. Now with behavior is a function of its consequences. Okay, so when you see a bird that does something, it's doing it for a reason. It's wanting some particular consequence. All right. That's even true if you see a bird that's in a cage going back and forth, strobing its beak on the bar. That's a type of psychosis, okay? It's called stereotypic behavior. But it's a way for them to ease their pain, okay? We do similar things. Usually when somebody comes home and pops a beer or pours some wine, they're doing the same thing, just using another way of doing it. Okay. Now, some of you might have heard, we use applied behavior analysis, okay, to work with birds. Some of you might have heard that cognitive sciences are moving away from ABA. They're moving away from behaviorism. That's true as far as humans go. We're now able to see inside of humans. We're able to get a lot of understanding, but we also have to be able to talk to them to do that, to come up with a lot of the solutions in the latest cognitive sciences. But where birds are concerned, ABA is still the standard. If you're a behaviorist working with birds, you're going to be a behaviorist working with birds, not a cognitive scientist, okay? Not that some cognitive scientists aren't doing research on them. We found out a lot about their memory using fMRI and that kind of thing. But we observe their behavior and then we analyze its function, the why of it, and we find new ways to we help them to make better choices for our world that are better for us, and give them consequences they want. Behavior is a function of its consequences. We use observable behavior, and what other choice do we have? We can't see inside their minds. Anyone who tells you that they know what one of these guys is actually thinking is wrong, because we cannot see inside their minds. We don't know what they're thinking. So we use what we see them do to guide us to shape new behaviors. Right, Kaz? Right, Kaz? Yeah? You agree? What do you say, Lucy? Anything loose? Loose the goose? We have minds that make models, okay? We make models of the universe that we see. They're not correct. They're not exact replications of what's going on in the outside world. And if you think that they are, go into our show notes and watch those 2 videos that are listed at the bottom. One is a whodunit, who committed the murder, and the other one is how many times was the basketball passed. Watch both of those and then tell yourself, I know exactly what's going on in my world. Those are 2 good ways to see that that's not the case. Also, if you look at something like an optical illusion and you see a box and it looks like it's open this way, and then you look at it again and it looks like it's open another way, or you can watch it split back and forth, that's because the brain can't make a model. It can't make a model of it. And also look at it this way. It's trying to do something in 3D on a 2-dimensional object. Yeah, we don't see the world as it actually is. So it's important to realize that. Let's talk about bridges in human terms first, okay? So your partner gets busy and cleans out the garage. And you didn't ask. Oh, you may have mentioned once or twice that, I really got to clean out that garage. Boy, that's a mess. It's packed with junk. So you're at work, you come home, and you see the whole garage has been completely cleaned. Everything is stacked neatly and organized, and you're just looking at it, and your partner's putting the last box in place right over here, just about finished, and you go, wow, that's great. I'm taking you out to dinner tonight. That's a bridge. That is a bridge. Now, why is it a bridge? This is the way a bridge works. Most often, the best way to reward someone for doing something you want is to reward them right as they're just finishing the job or doing what you want them to do. Right then. It's critical with birds, okay? Because if you do it later, they're going to think you're rewarding them for something else. Because you don't have language to explain why you're rewarding them then, okay? So if the bird climbs on top of a perch, and that's what you wanted them to do, and you go over and give them a treat, you're rewarding them for sitting on the perch, not for climbing up to it. They don't know that you're rewarding them for climbing, because they're not climbing. You have to reward them at the exact moment. And that's a problem. It's difficult to work with birds if you have to give them the reward at the exact moment, okay? Yes, Pip. Yes, Pip. Oh, Pip. Oh, Pip, Pip, Pip. Oh, Pip, 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 Pip. Oh, Pip, 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 Pip. So, with birds, and even with people, what we try to do is give them that reward. Hi, baby. There goes the Pippa. There she goes. She's going to take off. I know, you don't like it. It's all right. She's got wings. She can flap them. Lucy's out. I'm out of here. That's too much for me. Hi, Lorelei. That's a Pip. That's a good girl, though. Yes, it is a good girl. It is. It is a good girl. Aren't you, Pippa? I know. I know. Now, if you noticed, I'm actually rewarding her for being noisy, and that's okay. Because when she first came here, she was awfully quiet. So I will reward her for being noisy, won't I, baby? And for her, this is primary reinforcement. What is primary reinforcement? Good example. Food. is a primary reinforcer. If you're freezing and someone offers you a warm jacket or to go into a warm room, that warmth is a primary reinforcer. You're going to like it because it's something that your body needs, okay? Social contact can also be a primary reinforcer. So petting her, that also works often as a primary reinforcer. Right, baby? So she's asking for a little petting, which is she's asking for a little social activity here. She's doing it by coming over and making a big display. Aren't you? I know. That you're a good girl. So, if you're going to reward a bird or a person, you want to give them that reward at the moment they are completing the job, completing what you want them to do. So, with a bird, if I wanted her to flap her wings, she'd start flapping her wings, and just as she's starting to slow down, she's still flapping, I'd give her the reward right then. Now, if you can't do that, like in the case where, your partner's cleaned out the garage, and you could take them, it's like, here, we're going to dinner right now. Well, they want to take a shower, they want to get cleaned up, they want to put on different clothes. So that's not going to work. So use the secondary reinforcers. That's great. Or, thank you, that's wonderful, what a great job. I'm taking you to dinner. Okay? With the bird, good bird works for a bridge, okay? So if you can't get them the reinforcer at the right time, you're going to use the bridge. So a primary reinforcer is something that's an untrained response, like food when you're hungry, right? Or the warm room when you're cold. I say warm room when you're cold because I don't like to be cold. I'd rather be hot than be taken to a cold room. And that's partially because I have Raynaud's disease. It actually causes you to, the circulation in your hands goes away and your feet. If you're in a room, if I'm in a room that's 68 degrees or 65 degrees, within a half an hour, the temperature of my hands is going to go way down. And when I say way down, I remember years ago, this big guy I was working at a plumbing supply house, and this is a long time ago. And I had gloves on my hands. It was winter. It was probably 55 in the building. And he goes, oh, come on. You wimp. He goes, what are you wearing gloves for? So I took off one of the gloves and I put it on the back of his neck. He jumped about 2 feet and turned around and says, you better see a doctor. Yeah, well, I wish I had then because it was a few years It was a few years later when I found out that indeed I did actually have something wrong. So a primary reinforcer is something that we crave, and it's generally built in. Social interaction, these guys are quite social, so social petting at one of these guys is often a primary reinforcer. In fact, I remember I was at a meeting once, and I was at a meeting and there was a bird trainer there. And he had this umbrella cockatoo named Rocky, and he said, I'm going to show you how to train birds. He said, but I want you to notice I'm not going to use any treats, because Rocky doesn't care about those. All Rocky wants to be is petted. So the primary reinforcer is actually built in to the species. So if you can't give them the reward at the moment, the primary reinforcer, okay, the reward, at the moment that they do something you want them to do, that's where the bridge comes in, okay? As with your partner, they're dirty, they've been cleaning the garage, they're not going to go out to eat with you right then, or you aren't going to magically provide a big feast by snapping your fingers, right? The Snickers bar is not going to do for that. You're not going to go, well, here's a Kit Kat. Thank you for doing the garage. So that's where you bring in the secondary reinforcer. And in this case, it's the praise. And with birds, you try to keep it to a single phrase. Good bird's a good one. People use clickers. I wouldn't use a clicker, but that's because I've been around African greys. And if you start using clickers, you're going to have an African grey making a clicker sound. And we used to have an African grey with us. So a clicker would have done no good because Murray would have been making that clicker sound when I was trying to train another bird from another room. Yeah, believe me, she was good. The candy bar isn't going to work, so you use the secondary reinforcer here as a bridge. And the bridges literally is like walking across a bridge. You're going from where the action actually occurred, you're acknowledging it, and then you're giving that primary reinforcer a little later. With the birds, you're not going to wait till a couple hours. You're going to give them that reinforcer within seconds, generally. I've been able to do it within minutes. Within a minute. I've been able to do it within a minute when I realized that I did not have the reinforcer they like on me, and I had just given them a secondary. They had just done something, and I'd given them a bridge, and then they're looking at me and say, hold on, and I run off and go get it and run back. I've done that, and they're okay with it. They do have a good time sense, but you don't want to dawdle. Because if you break the trust, if you offer, if you put the bridge there, but you don't do your part of the deal, it won't work. And a good example is my Uncle John. I remember the first time I went to his house up in the middle of California. He had a black and tan dachshund named Tasha. And I remember the first morning I got up really early. I remember when I used to do that willingly. Now I just get up because I have to. But I was sitting in the living room, and here's my Uncle John. He's in his pajamas with a robe on, and he's sitting there in his bare feet. And in comes the dog. In comes Tasha. It's a beautiful song. Is there another verse? Is there another verse? Oh, it's a beautiful song. In comes Tasha with his shoes and his little slippers. So he puts his slippers on. Then she goes out the little doggy door in the front door and comes back with his newspaper. About 20 minutes later, he's sitting there reading the paper, and Tasha goes over with one paw and goes bap on the patio door. And Uncle John just throws his paper down, jumps up, runs over. I mean, it was amazing. It was as if the dog was pulling him by a chain, and opens the patio door so she can go out because there was no doggy door there. And I said, Uncle John, why are you running over to the patio door like that and opening it? And he looks at me and he goes, hey, if I don't open that door, just another verse. Oh, thank you. Don't you have all the toys you want this? Oh, you can come sit with me if you want. Sure. Come on up. Hi, beautiful. Hi. If I don't open that door right away, I don't get my slippers and my paper in the morning. So don't break that trust, okay? If you use a bridge, fulfill the obligation behind it. No excuses, because you'll pay for it if you don't. They have good memories, don't you, Peach? Don't you, Peaches? Peaches has a good memory, don't you, Peach? Now, why do we call a secondary reinforcer a secondary reinforcer? Because it's built on the primary. In this case, the offer of dinner. Okay? Dinner is the primary reinforcer. It's that whole meal out, all the attention and all the care and everything that goes with it. All that's wrapped into the primary. The secondary reinforcer that says, oh, thank you, wow, that's great, I'm taking you to dinner, that's the bridge. And at the other side of that bridge is the dinner, and it better be there. And it's the same way with these guys. And they don't understand English, okay, or any other human language. Some people say that they do. But actually, they understand some words, some sounds that we make in their own way, in context with your actions, okay? All of them here understand their names. If I say Coco, she looks right at me, don't you, Coco? Sugarbird? I say that too much, I'm going to get Sugar. Hey, Shug, are you asleep up there? What are you doing? Sleeping? You're looking at me like, yeah, he doesn't ever talk to me while he's talking to these cameras. And you're like, well, come on, Pip. Hi, Sugar. Hi, Salamander. So they understand some things. Baby girl. Lorelei, baby girl. Baby, oh, she's ignoring me. That's nice. Lorelei. Hi. Okay, you looked at me. Good. So they'll understand some things. When I say A-V, A-I-R-Y, I won't say it out loud. When I say that, they know, and they get wild because they know they're going outside. So they learned that one quickly. It only took a couple of days for them to hear that particular sound and immediately get ready to go outside. They're a little upset today because it rained. We didn't go out. Now, they probably could have handled the rain, but I'm like the Wicked Witch of the West. I melt. Yeah, I don't like water on my glasses. It's always driven me crazy. I mean, I can do it. I can go out there. But when it's cold and rainy, my hands, I lose my sensation in my hands and that kind of thing. And I don't know how they would react. They haven't been like real birds out in the rain, so... Have you, Peaches? I think Bob would love it. He loves water. Boy, that boy, I tell you. That's funny, because out in the aviary, when I have two birds that are trying to mate, and I hit them with the water, because I can't always get up. I might have 6 birds sitting on me, and I've got 2 birds at the other end of the aviary, and they're trying to mate. So what I do is I hit them with I've got a super soaker, and I hit them with that. That's positive punishment, okay? Positive because you're adding something, and punishment because you're trying to either reduce a behavior or extinguish it, to get rid of it. Okay, so that's what positive punishment means. Punishment just means to reduce or extinguish a behavior. It's not the same way we use a word in common language, okay? If you do that to Bob, he likes it. So to him, it's always positive reinforcement. So what I'll do is I'll hit him with the water once to get his attention, and then I won't do it again until he starts doing something I want. Okay? So if he was all the way at the other end of the cage and screaming, which he'll do sometimes, just because he likes to get everybody's attention, I'll hit him with it just a little bit and I won't do anything, and then he'll start going, kisses, babaloo, he'll start talking, and then I'll spray him. So, in his case, I'm using it as positive reinforcement, where with most of the birds is positive punishment. Now, I don't recommend positive punishment. Okay, I don't recommend it as the primary way of dealing with birds, but if it's necessary, as in you can't get up and you have to stop a behavior like mating, then you use it. But it's the last tool in my toolbox. And I don't feel good about using it, except in situations where there's no other choice. Now, I'll talk to them and try to stop them first, but when it's mating, they don't care that I'm telling them no. Especially that Lorelei girl over there. That's you I'm talking about. Wake up, you silly. He's over there half asleep. So, back to bridges. So they don't understand English or any other language. They understand words in context. Now, for those who think they do understand complex language, you should read the story of Clever Hans, which is about a horse that the trainer actually thought that horse could count. If you gave it like a simple thing like 5 plus 2, it would be able to stamp its foot 7 times. The trainer was giving non-verbal cues to the horse, okay? interesting story. You should read about clever Hans. The other thing is, if you want to understand what it's like for them when you're trying to train them, you should try the acting out the bird training routine, okay? And what you do is you have one person who's the bird, and then you designate one person as the bird trainer. You have the bird leave the room, and everybody decides what the bird trainer is going to get the bird to do. And then they come in. The only rule that the bird has is that they have to move around a little bit. You know, kind of keep moving just a little bit. So, if you reinforce the wrong thing, if you're trying to get them to open the door, and they're standing over here, and you want them to open this door, and they turn just a little bit towards this door, just a little bit, and there's a lot of different signals you can use in that training. You can clap hands, or you can just say, good. But anyway, let's say you're doing good, okay? So they turn just a little bit towards the door, you say good, okay? So they keep turning. You don't say anything. Because they turn past where the door is, and then they turn back. And when they turn back and they've got to the door, you say good. So now they start walking take a step towards the door. And you say good, and then they wave, look a little bit to the left, look a little bit to the right, and when they look a little bit to the right, you say good, because you meant to have them walk forward, but you got it at the wrong time. That person will now walk away from the door in a different direction. Why? Because your cue to them as to what to do was given at the wrong time. When you're dealing with birds, it's like that all the time. And if you get the chance to practice that, in a room with a bunch of people, one person's the bird, one person's the trainer, and everybody's sitting around watching to see how you're going to get that bird to do what you want. And the only thing you have is that clap or that good, so they know what they're doing. It's the same with them, okay? So what we do is we get them to understand what we want by training with primary reinforcers while building trust with secondary reinforcers. Or put it another way, we get them to understand what we want by training with rewards, actual rewards, okay, whether it be petting or food or that kind of thing, while building trust with good bird, okay, that secondary reinforcer. And using those secondary reinforcers as bridges. So you're training a bird to do the high five, and it gets its foot up a little bit in the air. You know, you're trying to get it to get its foot up, and it gets its foot up just a little bit, and you say, good bird. There's the bridge, okay? Then you give them the treat, because you're not going to get to the treat in time. The good bird comes when they're actually doing the action. All right? And you've got to use those bridges at the exact moment they're doing what you want. Because if you wait till that bird puts its foot back down and you say, good bird, you're now rewarding them for having their foot down. And it's just like in that room where you're training somebody, you can see it happen. Because if you tell them good or clap your hands when they're just turn their head the wrong way, they're going to go the wrong way. Same with them. And that's probably the hardest thing with these guys, is to realize that these bridges have to be built exactly at the moment they're doing what you want to see. Okay? Right? Yeah. You agree with that? Pip? Do you agree, Pip? Do you agree? Hi, Peaches. You okay? You're so quiet. You have some stuff on your face that needs to be preened too, little girl. Some new feathers coming in there. She's not fond of having her facial feathers preened, so get them when I can, right, Peach? So the bridge lets them know that a good consequence is on the way shortly, and these guys shortly on the way. Maybe a few seconds away, maybe 10 seconds away, but we don't want to stretch that too far. The bridge lets them know that there's a good consequence on the way. Right? Peach. Oh, Peaches, you're a little bit... Yeah, I know, Peach. Now, secondary reinforcers are not as powerful as primary. You know, the promise of something to come is not as powerful. But the thing about secondary reinforcers is that once you get them working, you can get them to where they work almost any time. So if you've taught a bird good bird, and they're not used to getting a reward every time, and this is called fading, okay? If you gave them a reward every time when you were training them to step up, okay, and then you did like step up and step up again and step up again, then you give them a treat. Then step up and then step up and step up again, and then give them the treat. What you're doing is you're giving you're giving that secondary reinforcer. You're giving that every time, and you're giving the primary every third, and then eventually you start going to a routine where you're doing it occasionally, intermittent. We call that an intermittent schedule. So you give it to them, you step up, step up, step up, step up, give them a treat. Step up, give them a treat. Step up, step up, step up, step up, give them a treat. And what happens is eventually when you say, good bird, hi, good bird, that works just like, almost exactly like giving them that treat, that primary reinforcer, that pat on the head that they wanted. So they won't wear out. Now, you've taken your partner to that meal, right? You've just eaten a ton and you're both kicking back in the chair like, oh, you're so stuffed. Not the way to eat, but you know, we've done it. And so you're getting up and you're walking out the door saying, hey, maybe we should stop and get ice cream. They're going to look at you like you're crazy, right? Because the primary reinforcer wears out once you no longer have that craving. But secondary reinforcers don't. So saying thank you and what a great job doesn't wear out the same way. It's not as powerful as going out to that big meal. But it works almost every time. As long as you're faithful and always do what you say you're going to do. And a secondary reinforcer is a bridge, saying good bird to someone who's just done something you like, and then giving them a primary, giving them that reward that they can see. As long as you're faithful in the beginning, okay, you can start doing. Like if you have a bird that's, like step up is a good example. You have them repeat the action, using the bridge each time, okay? In this case, you're using it as a secondary reinforcer. So you're going, step up, good bird, step up, good bird, step up, good bird, give them a reinforcer. So in this case, it's secondary reinforcer, secondary reinforcer, secondary reinforcer used as a bridge. Okay? So eventually that secondary reinforcer has a lot of force. It can be used by itself. For example, you're out taking the bird out of the car and they need to poop. Okay? So you take the perch out of the car. They're waiting to go. You put the perch up. They hop on the perch and go, and you say, good bird, and then you don't have any treats. Often that's just fine. You're in a different situation. That secondary reinforcer doesn't have to be a bridge in that case. You'll learn in time. At first, just always offer the reward. Okay, use it as a bridge, and then you can learn to slowly make it so you don't have to use it every time. That's called fading, and it does take a while. Don't do it too quickly. Because if they think that they're supposed to get it and they don't get it, it ain't going to work so well for you. And you have to watch the bird and kind of see what its reaction is when they don't get it every time. And if you do a repeat right after what they just did, so if you have a bird like, you've taught a bird to wave, and it waves, and then you say wave again, and it waves again, and then you give them that reinforcer. So they wave, and you go good bird, you say wave, and they wave, and you say good bird, and give them the reinforcer. Okay? So in the one case, the first case, you're just using it as a secondary reinforcer by itself. Then you have them repeat that behavior one more time, and then you use it as a bridge. And give them the reward, the treat, or the pet, or whatever it is they like, okay? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a treat. But with Roman, it's about 50-50. You'll offer him a treat, and he'll look at you like, I just want to be petted. Well, you can climb up. I'll bring my hand out if it helps. There you go. There's a Pippa. A pip, a pip, a pip, a pip. It's all right. It's a pip, a pip, a pip, a Pippa. Hi, Pip. Nice kills last girl. Pip, pip, pip. Pip, 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 pip. Yeah, they're all pretty quiet. This is kind of late in the evening. I needed to get this done, and I've been so busy with all these other things that have to do with the aviary, and then trying to set it up so that we can do more streaming broadcasts. But our connection outside's been kind of weak, so we got a router donated to us that will actually get us out there. And I went out today, and I live in Southern California, admittedly, so I melt when it rains, but I went out in the rain and checked it out, and we've got 24 megabits per second going up, so we'll be fine. We'll be able to do live streaming with no more drops. So that's good, right, kids? Yeah. Right, Peaches? Right, Lucy? You have nothing to say, Lucy? Nothing to say? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they're all pretty quiet because this is their quiet time. Except for Pippa. I don't think you have a quiet time. Because she's just buried on my side. The most important thing to remember is that that bridge needs to be given at the moment they're doing what you want. Not 2 seconds after. Not 2 seconds before. Because these guys have no way of knowing other than it's happening at that moment. Okay? They have no way of knowing what you want. And the only way to do it is to make sure you're catching the exact moment that they're doing the behavior. And that's one of the ways you train them to talk, too. When they say something you want, you catch it right then. And, just as if she said, hello, I'd go, hello, as fast as I could back at her, and then wait for her to respond. Not that I expect you to say hello, or you to say pretty bird. This one can say pretty bird. She only does it when she really wants something, as I said before, right? You won't say pretty bird now, will you? Nope. Pretty bird, pretty bird. She'll get going, though, on that one when she wants something. This one's a chatterbox, usually. She's not talking much tonight. Good grief, it's amazing how you check their feathers, and there's a ton of feathers that you do, and then there's nothing to do on the head for a while. And then all of a sudden, it's like there's just a nest of feathers that need to be done. All right, Peach, you got a bunch of them. So when you're giving rewards, remember they're going to wear out. The secondary reinforcer won't. So if you get the bird to accept good bird, and then you get them trained to where they do a particular behavior, and then you fade that away by going rewarding, repeating the behavior, don't reward. I mean, we're talking seconds away, right? Again, as I was saying, step up, good bird, step up, good bird, step up, good bird with bridge. And that's a bridge. You give them the treat. And then So, but at first, it's always step up, good bird, with the treat. Step up, good bird, treat. Step up, good bird, treat. And the good bird, the bridge, is given at the exact moment they are stepping up, not when they just landed on your hand. That's probably the number one mistake of people trying to use bridges, is they give them too early or too late. You want to do it at the very moment they're doing what you want. Because there's no other way they're going to know it. Just no other way. They're smart, but they're not going to second guess you. And we call it a bridge because it bridges the gap between the action we are rewarding and the real reward. Okay? In time, that bridge can be used as just a secondary reinforcer, and it'll work almost as well. But that takes time. It's not going to happen instantly, and you have to work at it. Right, guys? You got my phone. You haven't done that in a long time, but you grab my finger and we'll let go. Another way, too, to think about the bridge is, let's say you're sitting on the couch, and you ask, if I were to ask Salamander to flap his wings, okay, he doesn't know that. He's got some other behaviors. But if I was going to ask him to do that, I'm too far away to be able to give him a reward, okay? But if he did it, I could say, good bird, and then get up and go over there and give him a treat, okay? He hears me say it, he watches me get up, I'm holding the treat. That's right, Pippa, I'm holding the treat. So that bridge works from here. Where Pippa. You're a sweet little girl. You know that? She says, I know. I know you're a sweet little girl. So the bridge works over like a bridge too. It can work with distance as well. So if you're training a bird, let's say in free flight, and you've got a 20-foot run, and you've got the bird flying over to you, and also flying back, when it flies back to the other perch, you can't give them the reward back there. So you say, good bird, okay? They're probably all looking at me like, he's saying that an awful lot today. But you can use the bridge all the way across and have them fly back to get their treat. So think about that. It can be used almost anywhere. You just have to go over and actually give them a treat. With humans, we can put more time between the bridge and the actual reward, but you can't do that with birds. I think the most I've ever done is about a minute. When I realized that I was in a room, I had just rewarded a new behavior, a behavior the bird had just picked up, and here I am giving a bridge, but I don't have the treat that they like. So it's running off to get it. But it seems like if you're running like a crazy person to go get something, they figured that out. It's like, oh, okay, they're going to get it. They seem to be able to figure that out. If you're just walking away slowly, maybe not so much. You have to look like, whoops, I had to do this. And they can tell a lot by just the way you're acting. So use the bridge to build better behavior. Use it to make sure that you're letting them, use the bridge to let them know that they've done the right thing before you give them the actual thing that they're looking for, okay? They're looking for that consequence, that pine nut, that sunflower seed, that piece of papaya. They're not seeing it yet, but they're getting the promise of it through that bridge. Right? Peaches, do you want to say goodbye to the people? You want to say goodbye to the people, Peaches? Say goodbye, Peaches! Oh, you want to say it too? Well, you can say it too, Pippa. That was a nice fluff. You did a nice rouse, girl. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you all become patrons. We're looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye.
We welcome your feedback on our videos. We look forward to your insights, tips, questions, stories, and pictures. You can email us at cockatoo@chloesanctuary.org, reach us on Twitter @Chloe Sanctuary, and join with us on our Facebook Chloe Sanctuary page.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Mander, salamander bird. Hello, salamander.